Hey, welcome to the process. My name is Dr. John Bush. This is part two of my ADP versus end of the season fantasy points, running backs 2015 to 2022. Clearly, we need to understand ADP, what it is, what it isn't. What does it mean for end of the season fantasy points? We can argue, and probably should, that fantasy points at the end of the season just kind of biased to who stayed healthy, but this overall, over a long scale, is pretty much fine for the data I need to use and try to make some sense out of. And I covered the information starting with the ADPs 1st to 12th, 13th to 24th. So I think we have arrived at 25th to 36th. So these are the so-called RB3 types. And again, we look over the years. And by the way, you should go to part one. And let's see okay. So, couple things. First, the green is in the top 30th percentile across the 1 to 60th overall. So all the data. Percentile is of the best that was over the 8 years. So that kind of gives you a way to compare versus, is this number better than that number? Percentile puts it on a scale of 0 bad to 100 the best. So again, we're getting this kind of overall landscape information. In other words, as we're rolling through the draft, moving into the third level, the first 24 RBs are picked. Certainly your diary, see that lesson, should have insights for you to understand how good you are at this level of picking. And we can see historically what's happened in this sector here. So overall, if you look across from 2015, let's just count the green, the best case scenarios we could expect. We're talking 2, 2, 1, 2, 4, 2. Was that 5? Wow, 2021 was amazing. 3 last year. So somewhere between, 1 and 5 best case scenarios. So certainly, I don't think 5. And I don't think 1, we kind of think the data. So you're probably going to get 2 or 3 out of these 12 here that have an opportunity to get you close 50 to 60% of the show. So again, people say, should we worry too much? Well, the worry is if you're only pulling out 3 out of 12 in this block, then that means there's 9 that are sad, right? So 9, you're not doing too well. So there's a lot of misses and a few hits. So just realistically, how good are you at this? And if you don't know, then you're probably fooling yourself and being tricked, and you think, well, I did good. What's the foundation? What can we expect? I believe 3 giving you above 50% is a pretty good year. So, just allow us to have a feeling. There's a lot of failures, by the way, if you look at the Reds. 2, 5, what are we talking? 6, 1, 1. What is that? 5, 2, and 1. So 1 to 6, so probably closer to 2 or 3 failures. So not only are you hoping for the good news, you're hoping to avoid the bad news. So, half of the steps can be very rewarding, or you're blowing up there. So in some ways, you've got 3 landmines that are complete failures, 3 that are duds, and you're safe and you're happy, and then the other 6 is kind of eh. So most likely you're picking 50% shot in this round, you're picking eh. So how much effort, do you need to put in? Look at your diary. Are you good at this? Are you good at seeing what people are not seeing? You need to know that. And it's something to consider. And you're saying, well, why don't you declare? Look, people spout all sorts of stuff. We call that red boarding at the horse race. After the fact, oh, I had that horse. Well, show us your ticket. Well, okay, I really didn't. Okay, I was thinking about that horse. Hey, bottom line, regardless of what I say or didn't say, I'm helping you. Don't worry about what the old professor's doing. I'm pretty pleased with my outcomes over the last 10, 15 years in fantasy. I've won money. That's all I'll tell you. I've done much better at fantasy. Unfortunately, at horse racing, had some good years, but had some tough years in horse racing too. And that's probably, if anybody's honest, they'll tell you that. If they're not honest, then they win all the time, right? And if they're that good, tell Vegas love to have them. Vegas will give them free tickets there if they've got $100,000 bankroll and they think they can beat the dice or the roulette or slots or whatever. Oh yeah, come on down. Yeah. So anyway, about half the shot in this region is an eh. So what does an eh look like from a distribution population point? That's where our old friend the box and whiskers allows us to kind of look at things. The box, the length of it kind of shows the variation. The whiskers shows us the amazing outcomes there. And if you look, we've only had 3 years of 8 where the best in this region was at 70%. So it is a rarity to get 70% of the best. So most likely the median is somewhere falling 40 to 30%, probably 35. I'm just guessing there. I didn't print the numbers out. So you're probably, if you can hit running backs in this block that are bringing you near 50%, you're doing really good. And you need to know that. That gives you a target to shoot for. Okay, so that's the level you need to think about, is that kind of success. And again, your diary really should open your world up a little bit. A lot of variation in this world. Most of it is eh. Okay, the expectation is around probably 30, 35%. So that's part of that. If you mix the failures with the you're risking 0, right? 5 years out of the 8, you could have picked a 0 RB, got hurt, whatever. RB4s, how we looking? Wow. Did the complexion change? Look at the greens. 2, 2, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1 last year, 0. So at this point, RB4s, you're not picking one of the green. Okay, come on. Because last year, there wasn't one to pick. So if somebody's telling you they're masters of RB4, I'm not buying that. So I think at this point, you're just hoping to stay out of the trap, right? Look at the reds. 4, 2, 5, 4, 4, 2, 3, 2. So note the last 3 years hasn't been so bad for super failures. 2 to 3. Look at the preceding years. You were hitting 4, 5. So, the last 3 years, it hadn't been so bad, in what you're getting there. But it's a rarity to get a viable play here. And again, this is overall. You see, that's where the weekly situation comes in. And I need to get enough data to come through and plow this out. Maybe next year I'll have some gains over median data and can overlay this kind of ADP stuff with that, and we might get some clarity. But anyway, looking across here, so you wonder at this point, just how much effort should you try to pick one of the greens, or how much effort should you avoid the traps? I'm thinking the way I play 4s and 5s and 6s is I'm looking for handcuff to handcuff, and I'm looking to avoid the complete failures. And if I'm getting anything in the 30th percentile or better, you're probably gaining, or at least not, too bad. Let's see what the box and whiskers. Looks like might be closer to 25 here in the take home. Notice the variation in the last 4 years has really gone down, folks. So it's a lot safer, but look at the preceding years, in the 4, you actually had a shot at grabbing some viable RBs, and we hadn't seen a lot of that. Just a few rarities, but in the last 4 years versus the preceding 4. So things have changed. These 4 versus, it's like a completely different setup here. So one would argue that 2023 might be here, right? It would be hard to be arguing that you could find some winners here. So it's you're stretching it at that point. I think you really are. 49 to 60th at this point, just stay out of the red. Look at this. It's there's blood on the floor here at this point, folks. Only 4 greens. So if anybody claims they can pick out them sleepers, after RB4 territory, I'm taking the bet they won't. Okay, so that is rare. In fact, it's so rare that if you do it once, you would probably fool yourself, think, man, I must be pretty good. I can pull the one out. You're lucky if you stay out of there. So before, we kind of like, yeah, I'm trying to avoid the red. Here, it's like everywhere you go, you could blow up. And again, the last few years, 21, 22, it's been lesser of a horror show. Look at 19, 20, 15. It's been a big horror show. Look at 19, just sadness. And how does that look? It looks like this. There were some sad years here. And look at the variation. So again, the 20th gets a real risky at this point, but mainly you're probably shopping. Anything above 10% is probably a win at this point. So, I don't know how. So you've got to decide the effort to put in versus what's there to grab. In other words, you can gold mine in your front yard, but is that worth your effort, right? Are you going to find that big nugget out there in your front yard? Probably not. This maybe you're near a gold field or an old gold mine or something that's in your backyard. Okay, maybe. But most likely no. So at some point, I don't know the effort is worth, what you're doing and what you're getting. So in your draft, there is this kind of mental effort here in seeing what you can find. And I'm just not sure what we're getting. I think you're only, at this level, you're trying to get any kind of handcuff kind of things, something that in a rare situation, something crazy happens and you don't have anything else to go for. And so you're just, covering some injury things and whatnot. And I don't know, is it at this level, should you be fishing in wide receivers, tight ends, quarterbacks, your second QB, your second tight end, your third QB? In other words, you need to decide what's worked for you this deep in the draft. People never have. They'll debate who's the top and the second. But boy, they will short shrift here. Part of it is if they even have taken a gander at this data, they know it's just horror show everywhere. And there's just, there's not a lot to find out there. So again, at this point, I think definitely in your diary saying, okay, I switched at RB 5s and 6s or whatever, I'm doing this strategy, and just kind of see whatever that strategy is. It may be just flipping a coin. It may be, I'm looking at the third or fourth RB on my best team, right? San Francisco, CMC, you grabbed him, or Tony Pollard, and you're getting, the fourth RB on the depth chart. I don't know at this point who's here. Maybe it's the third one. I don't know. But you need a system to where you can figure out what's working for you, right? So the take home of this lesson, I'm providing you with this reference class forecast data, the foundation, and then it's up to you to dig and see what you can find. And now we're at this level. Is it worth the big effort at this point? You need to think about that. How does your game work? How deep's your bench? Some people play in a shallow bench. They're never probably even getting to this level. So maybe it's a moot point. But anyway, it's very intriguing to me. Okay, we've gone through the 1st through 60th. I think I'll stop this lesson a little early, 18 minutes, and we'll put it in the can here, and we'll do the next lesson, part 3, coming up. So keep yourself going. This is fun stuff. Trying to get it out before July, so at least you'll have some time to be thoughtful about things. Okay? So good luck. We're having fun. I enjoy this. This is fun for me.